Hi, I'm Daryl Henry. I'm with Bitner Henry Insurance. I'm a certified insurance counselor and a certified risk manager. And what I want to talk to you about today are some of the 6 unique things that we see addiction treatment programs facing, both from an insurance and a risk management perspective. The first one is leasing spaces. This may seem a little bit obvious, but there's a couple of components that you need to be thinking about as a program. One, every lease you rent, every apartment you rent is listed on your insurance policy. One of the biggest claims that we've seen is a fire in an apartment complex that caused more than $700,000 of damage. There's a couple of things that are a problem with that. One is that it can permanently fracture the relationship with the apartment complexes, and 2, making sure you have enough money to pay for all those damages. From a risk management perspective, the most common way we see fires or damage to leased spaces are kitchen fires. The second component that is very important for an addiction treatment program to consider has to do with vehicle safety. It's really not hard to rack up more than $1 million of damages if you put 5 or 6 people into a 15-passenger van and that van flips over. So from an insurance perspective, 1, don't skimp on coverage. Make sure that you're getting at least $1 million in your program. Secondly, make sure you're training each of your drivers. This can be a real challenge with some addiction treatment programs. Third key component for addiction treatment programs is professional liability. And there's a couple components here. In our experience and what we've learned in the industry is that the 2 most common professional liability claims for an addiction treatment program are going to be for suicide or for overdose. So 2 things you need to be keeping in mind is 1, making your documentation is excellent, and 2, making sure you have the appropriate insurance coverage in place in order to properly protect yourself if you have to pay for a lawyer in a settlement. Whenever I'm talking to people in the industry, what they tell me is that it's not a matter of if somebody's going to overdose in your program, it's a matter of when. Fourth key component that you need to be thinking about as an addiction treatment program has to do with abuse. And this can come in a couple of different formats. It can be abuse between clients, physical altercations, but it can also be Nightingale syndrome. It can be a counselor develops a sexual relationship with a client. It happens all the time. So you need to make sure that 1, you have the proper supervision in place to make sure that doesn't happen. And secondly, making sure you have the appropriate insurance coverage in place, once again, to pay for an attorney and a settlement in the event that you have to deal with that situation. Fifth thing to think about has to do with contractors in your program. This comes in multiple shapes. If you're a sober home, you may pay your house managers a stipend as being part of the program. That may make them an employee in your state and therefore ability to collect on workers' compensation benefits. The second way you need to think about contractors has to do with if you contract with medical professionals and making sure your professional liability will address that. Both of these are really important to think about as part of your program. Lastly, for contractors, and this is a unique topic that comes up especially with sober homes, is if you are paying a stipend to your house managers, making sure you comply with minimum wage in your state. We have seen situations where sober homes will allow people to have free rent. That's considered to be salaries. And then those people come back and say, I worked a bunch of overtime and you owe me money. Make sure that you are following the local employment laws in your state. And secondly, make sure that when you're looking at your insurance program that if you can get wage and hour coverage, that you can do so. So those are the 6 topics that in our experience can be very unique to addiction treatment programs. Contact us today to talk about your insurance program and your risk management needs, and we can help you through each of these items. We look forward to hearing from you.